Hello, everyone. What's going on? Leon back here with another episode, and this is episode 266. Oh my God, we've come a long way from another episode. Thank goodness I'm doing another recording because this is very important to talk about flock security. And I've just come across it during one of my searches on the internet, only because this is very, very important. And a lot of young people, a lot of guys like myself have gone through and talked about security on this topic. And security and privacy is very important. And I don't think one should abandon the other. And just because the government or some private company says that we're doing this for your safety and your safety, no, don't listen to that nonsense. Do not listen to that garbage that is coming from these corporate bloodsuckers. And first of all, and what I'm talking about is flock security. Now, if you have not heard about flock security, and mind you, one of the things I've been hearing lately, and this is something I came across a video the other day, and I mind you guys, if you're listening to this podcast now, it is very important to stand up on flock security. This is not good. And a lot of our freedoms is being corroded day by day and without no oversight on this too. I mean, I mind you too, a lot of people are starting to wake up, especially with new technologies like smart cars, like especially with Tesla, and then other manufacturers are participating in, human surveillance, which is like 1984 in that matter. If you've not read the book, I suggest you take a good read on George Orwell, because things are getting very scary too. And first is first, before I go on talking about the implications about flock security first and foremost, one of the videos that I've been talking about even before this, before the whole news on flock security, and I've talked about vehicles or even electric vehicles or ICE vehicles that are putting in these surveillance devices or these surveillance cameras in each vehicle upcoming 2027 or over. So I've always been concerned about the fact that your car manufacturer, it doesn't matter who, because I've always had the biggest threat was always Tesla, right? And that was one thing I came to mind, and I never trusted Tesla. In the back of my mind, while there was so much hype back in the early 2000s and people bought in very hard on Tesla, and I never understood why. I never understood the hype or the thing about Tesla until, one day one of my housemates bought a Tesla, and I drove it for a bit and I rode it for a little bit. Somehow I just didn't put my full entire trust in a company like that too. And it isn't anything to do with Elon Musk or anything like that. But I find that when you start adding all this surveillance cameras right into your external vehicle, not just take that back, not just the external, the internal side of your vehicle, that's going to lead to more security, not just security issues, but privacy issues that I'm fully aware what's going on. Nobody wants to be spied on. And that's the bottom line. Nobody wants to be spied on by the car manufacturers and even your insurances. And this is the biggest bullshit that we've been hearing a lot lately. Nobody wants this shit. And I can't even say it hard enough as it is. I am protesting about this too. Especially for me, I've always thought like, hey, probably things will go well in the future, and I've been very optimistic about getting electric vehicles if I could afford it. But now, you look at the dark side of things right now, and the electric vehicles, and not just electric, but ICE vehicles, and these brand new vehicles, they're gonna do something to gouge you. And let's say, for example, the smallest thing that would ever happen to a person, and let's say if you had a minor fender bender or a minor scratch or dent, then you know what? If the companies were to detect something like that right in the chassis of the vehicle, imagine the insurance rate will skyrocket on you too, and you can't even afford it, even if you had a perfect driving record. You know how messed up is that? And a lot of people, especially car owners, even in around America, is just looking at this and said, "This is nuts. This is absolutely bizarre, but not just bizarre, but absolutely insane. That here we are giving these companies more money just so they can spy on our liberties. Woohoo! Oh, here we go. The Fourth Amendment eroded. Look at that. Disgusting. Just absolutely disgusting. And how much of that data is being collected. And this is not even a conspiracy theory anymore, too. This is not science fiction that you would have watched 20, 30, or 40 years ago about this stuff, too. And it may have been like a scare factor to think about. It's like, oh my God, well, this is just a movie. No, it's not a movie anymore. Now you take a look at it out of it right now, you got people online talking about this. Even news reports coming from the APnews.com even talking about this too. And in fact, I will be posting this article on the show notes below so you guys can read it for yourselves. Just to prove that this is no conspiracy, what I'm going to talk about right here in this episode. And here in the AP News, the article states here, written by Kevin Chan. This here says, while driving to a new restaurant, your car's satellite navigation system tracks your location and guides you to the destination. Onboard cameras constantly track your face and eye movements. When another vehicle veers into your path, forcing you to slam on the brakes, sensors are assisting and recording. Waiting at the stoplight, the car notices when you unbuckle your seatbelt to grab your sunglasses in the back seat. Modern cars are computers on wheels that are becoming increasingly connected, enabling innovative new features that make driving safer and more convenient. But personal information raising concerns about data privacy. And here in the article continues on how cars collect data. And it's hard to figure out how much data a modern car is collecting on you. According to Mozilla Foundation, which analyzed privacy practices at 25 auto brands in 2023, it declared that cars were the worst product category that the group have ever reviewed for privacy. Yeah, that's right, people. And imagine a much, much worse that it can get too. And I'm talking about the implementations of privacy. How messed up is this? Especially how the fuck, excuse my language here, that somebody's gonna buy brand new vehicles in today's modern world of the year of our Lord. Mind you, that's some gullible idiot is gonna buy this bullshit. And it's absolutely horrendous. And I do think these vehicle companies, now if you live in the United States, like me, you'll know that how much every single day that we are buying to this bullshit. And I don't like this. I don't like none of this right there too. Yeah, and while I do say that when you have people already spying on you on your smartphones already, if it wasn't worse enough, why are we giving these manufacturers our top dollar just so they can continue to spy on us and every single of our location? That right there, our cars are supposed to be a private thing, supposed to be very, very private transportation. Nobody should have not know about this except for you or the other person around. And this is why I am auditing or vouching in for more classic cars, more of that now than anything, let's just say modern vehicles. And this is so stupid. Coming from me as a tech guy, I love technology only to a certain extent. That here we are going to, all of us think that, or if they think they're going to end up having us buy into the bullshit, buy into new technologies like this and bending down to the knee of both of these corporations and the government trying to track us down. How much worse can it get down the road? And I don't like to live in this future. And this future stinks. It stinks to the core. Yuck. And I'm going to say this, and it may sound very political, but God dang it. How much are we supposed to say no? How much of us are going to wake up and say enough of this? And I want to opt out of this future. Now, can we do this? Possibly. Now, according to AP, the drivers in the U.S. can ask car makers to restrict what they do with their data. Under state privacy laws, some car makers allow owners across the U.S. to submit requests to limit the use of their personal data, opt out of sharing it, or delete it. Consumer Reports say other auto companies limit the requests to people in the states with applicable privacy laws. The publication says you can file a request either through an online form or the car maker's mobile app. Well, first of all, if I were to go to a dealer, how about if I go out and ask the car dealer right in front of them to opt out completely? There's an idea. I don't understand. Why is it so hard? Why do we have to go through our mobile apps? I don't get this. This is the car manufacturer saying, well, let us go ahead and collect most of not most, but all of our customers' data because we want to see what they're doing. We can't trust our consumers anymore because we may think that our people are going to start, saying the wrong things or saying things that we don't like, or otherwise we may have to report this to Uncle Sam. This is awful. The whole thing is wrong right there. Because if you go and read the article yourself, you're going to understand that, first of all, limit the use of their personal data. How about not limit the use of the consumer's personal data? How about opt out completely? What sense is that? And it sucks. And I can't understand why is it so hard. And then continue on with this here and tweaking your settings. Now, is there ways to combat this? It will probably be hard to do it because if you can't opt out for that vehicle that you're going to go out and purchase right off the dealership, that makes me think, why is it that you can't even opt out of this beforehand before you purchase that vehicle? Where is the safety, the actual safety of customers? I don't understand this. It's completely stupid because if you think about it, your data is your currency to these companies. They want to know more about you. And that's the thing about these companies is that they're willing to know more about you than you know about yourself. And that's what bothers me. Even in today's world, that it's going to be much harder for a consumer like you to opt things out, even when you never request things beforehand. And this is terrible. And this is why I don't advocate for newer cars anymore. So, even according to more news outlets, they say that more of this data collection is going to happen next year, 2027 and beyond. Now, I don't know why. I've always had a bad feeling about vehicles. Purchasing brand new vehicles to even today, especially when my roommate introduced me to his Tesla, his first electric vehicle. But now, it's more of a genuine concern now, because I don't even care about newer vehicles. Back in the day, like if I were to go out or get a vehicle or something personal to me, I'd get something like old school, like Monte Carlo, a Pontiac, or even a Cadillac, one of those old school Cadillacs. And I remember riding on with my dad. My dad was the driver, by the way, and he had a great Cadillac, and I loved driving on that thing, even if it was a piece of crap. It took us from point A to point B any time and place. I liked it. And, I understand that cars don't last forever, but if you take care of your car, maintain it well, it will do wonders. The best part with old cars, they don't spy on you. You've got a lot of privacy and liberties in your hands, right? And they don't record your conversations between you or the other person, or even record you inside that interior thing. And that's why I am not happy way things are going. And this is why in the next story, I'll be talking more about the flock cameras pretty soon. Guys, let me know what's going on. Are you going to opt out, or are you going to say, I'll probably wait things out until things get better? Let me know down in the comments below if you're listening to me on YouTube or wherever podcast service you're listening to me from. Another story I wanted to cover is the flock camera, which is the main story of the podcast. And this story, one of the biggest story that's been around just for a couple days or so, and this is very controversial. Now, whether you think this is right or wrong, first of all, you got to think bigger right now, and you have to understand if this is something you advocate for. Now, listen to this article. Green Bay Police Chief defends flock safety cameras amid privacy concerns. Yeah, I would too. I would be concerned about this. And so in the article, on the WBay.com, it goes deep to saying Green Bay's police chief is defending the city's use of flock security cameras for surveillance as nearby cities end their contracts with the vendor over privacy concerns. Flock is one of the two vendors being used in Green Bay for this type of technology. The city's contract with Flock comes amid controversy in both Appleton and Oshkosh. And if I mispronounce it, Oshkosh, whatever. Anyways, continue on with the story, where privacy concerns led to contracts with Flock ending. Green Bay has 42 Flock cameras acting as automated license plate readers, according to Chief Chris Davis. That was part of our gun violence reduction strategy back in 2021, when we had a big problem with gun violence, because we know the faster we can arrest a suspect in a gun crime, the faster we can get out in front of that regulatory cycle and prevent who knows how many more shootings down the road. Davis says. The city also has a second vendor, Axon, which provides cameras for police vehicles. Yeah, so Axon I've not heard about, but Flock, it's been a big issue over last week, and not just last week, but a couple days. And I've been reading and watching people's concerns about the Flock cameras because of how much that's going to be a very much of a privacy concern and the privacy protections, which I'm going to read this now. Flock's contract was recently renewed by the city for the next 5 years, but it also has protections in place to protect privacy. You can't access the records unless you have some valid public safety reasons for doing so, whether it's investigating a crime or maybe trying to find a missing person or something public safety related. And in the search template, when you go to the system to run a search, you have to specify what that reason is, Davis said. Data is stored for 30 days and then deleted, unlike some communities where it's stored up to 2 years. Oh my God. Quite a long time, too. Jim Palmer, executive director of the Wisconsin Professional Police Association, said the cameras are a valuable tool to offset staffing shortages in some communities. This ALPR, automated license plate reader technology, really can be an effective force multiplier and help detect things when agencies simply don't have the manpower and the personnel to be every single place, Palmer says. Davis said whatever that data is collected is city property and won't be shared by the vendor without permission. We possess data and information about people in this community that is much more sensitive and intrusive than what intersection on a public street their car went through at the certain time. We have body camera footage sometimes in people's homes and some of the worst moments of their lives. That comes with a tremendous responsibility on our part to make sure we are keeping all that sensitive data safe, Davis said. Yeah, so this is one thing that the Wisconsin police or the Green Bay police chief is defending Flock. However, as a guy that's not open or not looking forward to this, and I can see, understandably, I can see why even certain communities do not like this at all. And I get it, because this is very much of a privacy concern, just like the cars I just talked about just early in. Because why do we need more and more security? It's like more spying devices, really, when we already have spying devices that we use on a daily basis, like our iPhones, our Android phones, and they could be spying on our laptops and desktops for all we know. This is insane, because this is not the way to do it. And thankfully, there are certain communities are standing up to this. And thankfully, North Carolina town ends Flock security camera contracts, siding with privacy rights. Hallelujah. And I have to agree with this. And this right there was published back on the 13th. We're talking about 3 days ago, before this recording. Now, this article written by Faith Wardwell. And she writes, the town, Pittsboro, has canceled its contract for a controversial system of license plate readers, siding with privacy rights in a months-long debate over surveillance concerns. Pittsboro officials in 2024 installed a series of surveillance cameras over local roads built by Flock Security as a method to root out and deter crime. But the town board voted 4-1 to end the contract Monday night, setting a January 1st deadline for the Atlanta-based company to remove the cameras after an outpouring of concerns from the local residents. Yeah, I can see that too. And I don't think this is gonna go well if we have stories like this. This is not good at all. And I'm glad that the boards or the city voted against this too. And if this was me, I'd be against this at all as well. And this is even crazier. And wait until you hear what you have to hear about the CEO from Flock Security. His comments. Now, first, I want to mention something too. I am not against. I'm not against having to protect yourself. Look, if you want to protect yourself, look, I don't mind you guys having cameras set up into your own place. But having cameras everywhere to spy on your own civilians, tracking license plate and everything else, first of all, I don't understand. Where is the police? I mean, this is the police's job to even go out to monitor people and find people that are speeding, whatever, right? Look, I get it if the certain communities need to have cameras because you decide that you want to protect your home. I get it. But why have all these cameras and having all this right there when reality, it doesn't really do much but to go against your privacy and spy on every individual too. And this is not something I vouch for at all. So more on that story. I would go ahead and post this right down in the description below for you guys to read it on Yahoo News as I've picked this up. And I think it's great. And I want to go ahead and address what the Flock Security talks about DFlock. In fact, there is something that a lot of people have brought up. And I decided to look back on what many people have said about dflock.org. So this site is very good. Now, this website, if you want to know if you have a DFlock camera installed into your community, well, look no further but welcome to DFlock, an open source project mapping license plate readers. And this right there, I think it's cool. And which here it goes down below on the website, automated license plate readers, ALPRs, or LPRs are AI-powered cameras that capture and analyze images of all passing vehicles, storing details like your car's location, date and time. They also capture your car's make, model, color, and identifying features such as dents, roof racks, and bumper stickers, often turning these into searchable data points. That's right. Searchable data points. These cameras collect data on millions of vehicles. ALPRs are a serious risk to your privacy and civil liberties. These systems continuously record your movements without a warrant, probable cause, or even reasonable suspicion. Your driving history is rarely confined to the town or city where the cameras are installed. It's typically shared with thousands of other agencies nationwide, secretly. Once the data is out of your community, you have no control over how it's used or what rules apply, leading to instances of misuse. This is where I agree with this dflock.org. And if you guys want to know more about this and where is the local LPR locations near you, I will post this in the description, and that way you know what's going on. Because I do think this is a definite privacy concern. This is not a good thing. And if someone says that spying on you is a national security to protect us, I don't know what to tell you folks. Because who wants this? Whoever asked for this, I don't know. Somebody is probably thinking about this the wrong way. And if you go on the DFlock maps, you see so much in the eastern border. All these security cameras right there. And including the west side is going from Washington State down to Southern California. There's a lot of cameras installed already that you guys do not know that's going to be in your neighborhoods. And in fact, I see a lot of yellow in my area here in my state. So that tells you, if you want to know where those DFLOC security cameras are, find out. In fact, I'm going to go and share you the one that's being threatened on this, on this website, dflock.org. And you're talking about the CEO that says that this is a threat. Anyways, hear what he has to say.
Everywhere and increased surveillance everywhere. Yeah. There's an organization called DFLOC who are semi-well known now, I guess, if you're interested in this stuff, who take a fairly aggressive approach in terms of counting the number of cameras and having a Discord channel where they talk about potential, activities to move against FLOC and stop it expanding. What do you think of that organization and the way they go about their business?
Yeah, so I think there's really two groups of activists. You've got organizations like the ACLU and the EFF who take an above-board approach to fight for their point of view. And thankfully, we live in a beautifully democratic, capitalistic country where we can fight in court. And I have a lot of respect for those groups because they have reasonable debates and we follow the law. And then unfortunately, there's terroristic organizations like DFLOC, whose primary motivation is chaos. They are closer to Antifa than they are anything else. And that, I think, is unfortunate because we don't want chaos, or I don't want chaos. I like law and order. I like a society that has a bedrock of safety. So for those groups, I think it's just disappointing that they haven't chosen a more constructive mannerism to try to get what they want, which they have a right to have, but that's why we have a democratically elected process, right? Like we're not forcing FLOC on anyone. Elected officials know that as a community, you want to be safe. As a family, you want to be safe. And FLOC is the best way to create a safe community.
Tell that to people that don't feel safe of having so many cameras around their communities. What's the point of that too? And this is my argument, is what they're really advocating for is to collect more about you than anything else. And this is not about protecting your communities at all. The whole argument, what he just said about dflock.org being a terroristic community, is pretty much this guy lost the point right there. Nobody have ever asked for these cameras to be installed at all within our communities. And as I'm going on DFLOC maps, I already have seen 12 in my area, and in the next town up north, there's 10 cameras and 10 more cameras after that too. And then let me take that back. As I'm going around, zooming around the area nearby, take that back, 33 cameras. And then the airport, let me go over around the airport. In fact, if I zoom in, I'm probably sure there's going to be a lot more cameras around the airport. There we go. Hartsfield International Airport. A lot more cameras everywhere. And I'm talking about those FLOC cameras. So it's like, how safe do you think we are already? And I don't think a lot of people buy the security at all. Buy the security argument. That's just not a good thing. In fact, I really hope that more communities go against this and puts an end to this, because who wants this? Who really wants more of our data being collected by these private companies? And I know the argument will say, well, government surveillance is much worse than the private companies that are being run. You don't know how safe we're going to be if we haven't had these cameras installed in the first place. And I think it's one of the worst arguments anybody can have about the FLOC safety devices being installed in our areas. And I'm not, and this is not someone taking a very terroristic approach. This is someone that wants our privacy, wants someone to protect our very own privacy. And this is not good, because I do think these AI cameras can be misused at a wrong way. And while the cameras do have audio, there's been reports that have said, especially if someone is out, having fun, blowing a party, let's say 4th of July, why would anyone want to get arrested right on a national holiday? Let's just say, for instance, that holiday is like a very special holiday for many people about celebrating the freedoms. And even though, look, fireworks can go on to be misused, which I agree. It can be misused in so many ways. I don't like the argument that many people go out and say, you don't care about privacy if you go against these cameras. No, I care about privacy. I don't want a private company or even the government, in that matter, to spy on us. Because if you guys have not read the constitutional amendment lately, or if you've forgotten your U.S. Constitution, you'll have to read about the Fourth Amendment. It is important to keep our privacy well intact and well safe. Now, if you look at what these companies are doing, imagine if they deem you as a terrorist. And let's say if you've had a private conversation with one person in a vehicle, or these cameras can pick up conversations. What then? What's the argument now? That's one thing I think we're already in a very big slippery slope that we're not already understanding right now. And if most of these communities do push back, which I do hope, this is going to be a win-win for privacy advocates like this too. So keeping this podcast in the close, let me know what you think about this, because I think we need to get our privacy back. And in fact, this is going to be one fight that we cannot stop or be asleep on. Let me know what you think. If you're listening to me on YouTube, leave a comment, like, and a like, share, subscribe on YouTube. Or if you're on your favorite podcasts, especially Apple, Spotify, or any podcast services you're listening into your choice, make sure to subscribe to me and follow me whenever my podcast is published live out on your podcast services of your choice. Thanks again for listening. Leon Langray signing out. Please continue fighting back, because the fight is not over till all these cameras are down for good. Thanks again for listening. Have a good day. Bye.